Welcome back. We're joined by Alberta-based filmmaker, award-winning filmmaker Mathew Embry, who's also the director and creator of this new scholarship program called Energy Creates. Mathew, thank you so much for coming on today to share with us about this campaign. Just before the commercial break, we were discussing global warning, and that was a documentary created in 2019. Again, about some of the controversies and tensions between the climate change issue, especially as a resident of Alberta. Carry on with what you were saying, that you were noticing a divisiveness surrounding this issue.
Yeah, so I really started to notice this polarization happening, and for me, it wasn't the issue wasn't as cut and dry. Um, and I think what I wanted to do was create a film that really went into these issues critically, to the best of our ability, give both sides a voice, and try to find some sort of middle ground. That was the goal, and what we did is we wanted to really embed ourselves with, say, both sides, as best as we possibly could. And that's, again, this is why the contest for us is about that same critical thinking, and engagement. And I want the young people across Canada to take that same creative approach that we did in making the documentary.
So one of the flip sides, or to challenge you there, so when you say you want to create this campaign because you want to get that critical thinking going, or is that to suggest that there isn't critical thinking, that the young people in Canada are just going with the flow?
No, I think young people are really, in Canada are deep critical thinkers, and this is why we're doing this. And I think that what we're doing with this, and it was in the documentary, is there are some things that just aren't getting, say, mainstream attention, right? And that's what documentary filmmakers do. I think
Right.
the heart of our job is to go out into the real world, observe. If we see things that maybe aren't, being brought to light, we shine a light on them. And with this documentary, that's what we tried to do, and I think we achieved it. And I think for young people, what we want to do is make sure that everybody across Canada gets access to this type of information. And in this
Absolutely.
case, we're hoping that that's going to happen. And that, again, it's about that creative process. It's about them taking their ideas, and they can push back, they can question, they can push back against me, against themselves. And that's what the discussion, the dialogue that we're trying to start.
It's actually quite refreshing because we keep hearing, especially at our colleges and universities, that there's a lack of critical analysis happening, that there's a certain narrative and one must adopt it to their peril if they don't. So let's go back to your documentary, Global Warning. What were some of the biggest takeaways as you dug deeper into the subject of climate change?
Well, I mean, climate change was only one of the issues that we tackled in the film. I mean, what we tried to do was create a portrait of the entire Canadian energy sector and some of the challenges that it faces, whether that be some of the Indigenous issues, around, getting the right type of meaningful engagement to have industry projects move forward. We wanted to tackle some of the economic challenges, some of the global challenges. We wanted to tackle all of these types of things and to show that it's incredibly complex. All of the things that the Canadian energy sector has to navigate with the environment and all these types of things. But at the same time, we also wanted to show people what's going on outside of Canada. I think when we're in Canada, we can focus so much on what we're doing, and that's why we call
Right.
it global warning. So we went to the UN climate change conference in Bonn, shot behind the scenes. We went to the US Congress and we shot a behind the scenes where, they were going back and forth about certain types of science, conversations you don't hear in Canada that often.
Wow.
And that's what the film we wanted to show. Like, look, everybody, look outside of our country and see what's happening, but also see how we can become such a important voice to that conversation.
So
Canadians.
just so I'm clear, so you felt that there was like a healthy dialogue on these issues globally and in the US, but there's a lack of that kind of dialogue here?
Well, I don't know if there's I think that what we wanted to show was that these two voices are happening outside of, both in Canada and outside of Canada. And in our film, there's actually a scene where we bring them together. We take someone who's highly involved in climate activism, and we take someone who's pushing towards other environmental issues. We actually put them in a room together in the final scene of the film. I'm not going to spoil it, um, because I want people to watch it. But we put them in a room together to try to hash it out, and to actually, so they can actually, so we actually see them together. And for me, that was the most important scene of the film.
Okay, we're going to pick up this conversation in just a moment.